Mario Kart World Direct was on April 17th at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, of course, I woke up super early so I can watch it and do this kind of recap for you guys. I know the biggest question is always, is the game worth $80? And based on what I saw, I don't know. I'm actually still kind of on the fence there. But let's just go over the highlights of what they discussed in the Direct. So they started off with some of the new courses. So starting with Mario Bros. Circuit, which was the original course we saw in the teaser when they announced the Switch 2 back on April 2nd. And then we saw Crown City, Salty Speedway, which is like a canal system, so you'll be driving little boats. Starview Peak, Boo Cinema, and so these are all original courses that are going to be a part of this new Mario Kart world. But they also mentioned that older courses, some fan favorites like Toad's Factory, Peach Beach, Wario Shipyard, are also coming back, but they've been tweaked a little bit to fit into this new world. And of course, races have different type of elements. They mentioned that some races are going to be during the day, some are going to be at night, some are going to have different kind of weather, like raining. You might be on different terrain, like snow, water, sand. So there's going to be challenges, of course, to each course, depending on the weather, the time of day, and then what type of environment it is. But I thought that was interesting that they're adding complexity to the race. It won't be the same one every time. Then they went into new characters for a couple minutes, and there are a ton of new characters, especially some of the smaller characters that you would see over time. So like in this section, there's Goomba, Spike, the cow, which we have seen a lot of memes about the cow, King Boo, Baby Rosalina, Baby Mario, and Baby Luigi, Lakitu, Donkey Kong, the Pufferfish, Pariah Plant. I mean, we have a lot of more secondary characters who are now also going to be drivable characters. And then, of course, there are individual costume slots, and they went over to costumes as well, and I'll get to that later in this video. But it looks like they really expanded the roster so you can have a better variety of players, especially playing online, because you can have 24 people online, and so you don't want to see like 5 Marios in your, lobby, or 20, Rosalinas. Like, you have some different options. They also went over the 2 main modes for Mario Kart World. So, of course, the traditional Grand Prix, and then there's new mode called Knockout mode. So for Grand Prix, there's up to 24 players, of course, per race, and there's looks like 8 different cups. So like the Mushroom Cup, the Star Cup, the Shell Cup, which is pretty traditional. I believe even Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had about 8 cups. It didn't go over if there was a 200cc level or not. So at least from what we've seen before, there's of course the traditional 50cc, 100cc, 150cc, but they didn't address if there was anything higher than that. Is there a 200cc mode? Is there a mirror mode? We don't know. They didn't really go into that. Each Grand Prix has 4 different courses in it. You do drive between courses, so you don't just start at the next race after you finish race 1. You drive to race 2 and then start race 2. They didn't show if there was any option to turn that on or off. So I think that's one of the big questions for me is, can we opt out of driving to other courses, or do we have to? I think the gimmick is going to get old after a while. I don't really care to drive between other courses. I'm fine with the way it's always been, which is you just start the next course. But that's fine. They didn't really touch on that too much. And then they did tease towards the end of that if you conquer all of the Grand Prix modes, so all 8 cups with 4 races each, then you're going to unlock Rainbow Road, which may be either another cup or just a road by itself. They did not show Rainbow Road in the Direct, so I'm not 100% sure. Then they went into Knockout mode, which is the new mode coming exclusively to Mario Kart World. We've never had that in the game before. Knockout mode also has 24 players per race, but the difference is you have to stay within a certain race threshold or you'll get cut off. So it seems like it goes in increments of half. So in the first race, it's 24 players, and then you want to be the top 16 to go on to the next course. There's still 4 courses altogether, just like a regular Grand Prix. So very interesting. I think it's going to make it more challenging. It almost feels like a battle mode or like a ranking system versus a regular Grand Prix. You get to race all 4 races, even if you're at the bottom. It doesn't push you out. You just don't get a lot of points. So I think I'm more interested in Knockout mode than Grand Prix mode. And although With knockout mode, I'm not 100% sure if Rainbow Road's going to be a part of that. I wish they would have dove into that a little bit deeper. Then they went into all the new items that are coming. So there are, just based on what they've said, not, they may not have told us everything. It looks like there's 6 new items for sure. So the first one is coin shell. You throw this shell and it leaves a trail of coins in front of you and you have to pick them up. Now, your rivals can also pick up the coins, so you want to make sure no one's around you when you throw the coin shell. They have an ice flower, which kind of works like the fire flower works. If you ever play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you can throw those little fireballs. This is the same way, but it's ice, so it can freeze your rivals. There's a hammer that you can throw at your rivals to kind of, hit them. Mega Mushroom, which makes your character bigger than all the other characters, so you can run them over. The feathers, you can use that to kind of jump up in the air and avoid obstacles or like get on rails or get on walls. And then there's Kamik, and he can transform your rivals with his magic. And they said the transformations may be different, so I'm not 100% sure what that means. And then of course they have the traditional items that you would expect. And they mentioned that for people who are in lower ranks, you'll get items like Bullet Bill and Lightning, which people in higher ranks won't get. Then they went over really quick new support features. Now, some of these we've seen before. So like smart steering, tilt controls, auto accelerate. We have that in Mario Kart 8 Direct. But what's new is you have an auto use item feature. So instead of having to manually trigger when an item should be used, this feature will just automatically use the item for you. Now, I don't know how that would work because sometimes items require a little bit of strategy. I don't know if the game is going to be strategizing for you or is it just going to auto release the item. And then it looks like there's an option to change both the horizontal and vertical cameras, which I think is a great accessibility tool for people who maybe need a wider scope of view or a narrow scope of view. They touched on a small feature, but they really breezed over it. So there's these drive-thrus, these Yoshi drive-thrus scattered across the world, all of these maps in Mario Kart World. And if you drive through that little drive-thru and hit the box, you can unlock different dash foods. And then these dash foods, if your character eats them, unlocks different items inspired by the meal. So they showed example like sushi, they showed Italian food. So I think those are going to be some of the new character outfits, but you're going to have to drive through these drive-thrus to get the food in order to unlock it. So again, it adds a little bit more range, a little bit more challenge to the game overall. They also added some new tricks to the game. So there's 2 tricks specifically that they went over. So the charge jump. So if you can charge up while you're driving in a straight line and use that charge jump to jump up in the air, kind of like to avoid obstacles or hop on rails, hop on walls, things like that. And then there's a rewind feature that they showed off. Now I wasn't 100% sure when that would be useful. So the rewind feature allows you to go back if you've like missed a turn or missed a jump or missed something on the course. But the problem is all your other opponents are still driving normally. So if you rewind, they could pass you. So it's like, I don't know what period of time you'd actually would want to do the rewind feature or not, but they did mention that. And then the final part that they mentioned was all the other modes that are not the main mode. So again, the main 2 modes are Grand Prix and Knockout, but there's also time trials, where you can compete against just the clock. You're on your own. The verse race, where you can set up any conditions you want. There's a battle mode, which includes both the balloon battle and the coin runners. And then there's a free roam mode where you can go all across the map off-road. They did mention there were some certain challenges you may find in the free roam mode when you're off the main courses, like collecting coins or completing little races. I don't know if you get a prize for that or is it just something you do for fun. And then, of course, there's a photo mode in free roam mode if you just want to take pictures of like cool jumps or cool scenery. So that was interesting. And then I kind of went over some of the other features that are because of the Switch 2. So 4 players can play on one system. Up to 8 players can play local wirelessly. So that means you have to have your own Switch, though, right, to play that one. And 24 people can play online. So a lot of features. I do like that you can play with other people. But that's always been Nintendo's game. They've always done, couch co-op type of games. And so I'm glad that they're keeping that with Mario Kart World. They also briefly touched on game chat. So this software does use game chat if you pay for the, Nintendo Switch online subscription. It is compatible with the Switch 2 camera. So if you're playing online, it will have your picture and you can see other people's screens and their pictures. Or if you're on the same system, the Nintendo Switch camera can pick up to 4 people's faces. So if you're all in the same room, I thought that was a cool touch. Still don't know how I feel about the game chat or the camera system just yet. I think it's more distracting than helpful, but you know, that's their gimmick with this new system. So I guess they have to push it. Overall, though, I'm not sure how I feel about the $10 hike. I understand that they're saying that this game has more detail, it's more rich and in-depth, and so that's why they're charging more, because of the replayability and the experience that the player gets from this game. I will admit that it is deeper, and having new tricks, being able to unlock new costumes, which was something we didn't have in Mario Kart 8, this new knockout mode, which we didn't have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe either. You know, the fact that they revamped some older courses and made new courses is really interesting. You know, I do, the photo mode seems cool if you're playing with your friends and you want to, you know, park at a random sign or something. So, I mean, I do see that there was a lot of stuff that's new. I won't say it's just a carbon copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We haven't had a new Mario Kart game in forever, because even Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, when it came out on the Switch in 2017, was originally a Wii U game. So we haven't had a new game in like a decade. So I get that it's the graphically beautiful. They revamped character designs, like Donkey Kong looks different. Daisy looks kind of different to me. You know, they put a lot of detail into it. So many new characters, up to 24 players. Like, I get that they've made some huge changes. So of course it does feel like a new game. I won't say that it feels exactly like all the Mario Karts we've had before, but I don't know if that warrants $10 more, especially when some of the features require you to have online access. So specifically, playing online with other players is going to require online access, and then using the game chat and the camera feature with players online also requires an online subscription. So you're already asking someone to pay $20+ a year for this online subscription, plus the cost of a new system, which at this point, because I'm in the United States, I don't know what our system is going to cost, and because we still can't pre-order it yet, and they didn't address that in the video either. And then you also want me to pay $80 for the game. So it's like the investment, the curve to get into Mario Kart 8 is over $500. The $450 system, plus the $80 game, plus the $20 a year subscription, plus potentially the $50 camera, just to play Mario Kart 8. And then you're telling me it's $10 more because of new features. I don't know that they really sold the concept well. I think they could have maybe explained it a little bit better, more detail, or shown us something that was $10 more. Like, I thought there'd be some sort of a story mode where it's like a single player, you know, you're coming out here and you're gonna have, you know, give your character a backstory. They're trying to win the Grand Prix to save the kingdom, whatever. And at the end of story mode, you unlock Gold Mario, whatever. Give us some sort of prize. I'm just surprised that there was no story mode. I guess they're trying to use free roam mode with those little challenges as like a story mode, but they didn't make that clear. And they didn't answer a lot of questions. Like I said, I'm still not 100% sure. You know, they didn't go over all the courses. They just touched on about 8 of them. So 2 Grand Prix worth. They didn't explain or show Rainbow Road or Bowser's. You know, so every Mario Kart, we get a new Rainbow Road. We get a new Bowser course. You know, we usually get, they didn't really show either one of those in this. I'm sure there's more than 2 new tricks. They didn't really explain all the tricks either. You know, I think they could have explained a little bit more. They chose to make this 15 minutes. They could have made it 30 easily if they wanted to go into more details. Like, we didn't see anything about the cart customization. Now, I know it's a little bit different than Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you could select parts of the cart. So if you wanted to pick the body of the cart, the wheels, or the glider, and each one had different specs. And this one looks like the cart is already pre-assembled. So you're just going to mix and match the carts to the characters, and that's how you're going to get your stats. But they didn't really show off a lot of the carts. So it's like, I guess you'll have to play, unlock the characters. And does the costume change the stats or not? You know, if my character's wearing an Italian-inspired costume, does that change the stats? Is there an Italian-inspired car? I mean, they left a lot up in the air, and I get that they want people to discover on their own. You don't want to tell people everything, because then what's the incentive to play the game? But I think they could have maybe explained a few more details, especially highlighting new features, the characters, the knockout mode, you know, the costumes, the carts, things that have changed since Mario Kart 8. And maybe they could have even had a section like, this is what used to be in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but now we're doing this, to make it really obvious to the consumer what you're asking for. But let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Mario Kart 8 World? What did you think of Mario Kart World? And do you think that there's enough differences between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and this game to warrant the $10 upcharge?